Counting down to the startup. And hello, South Florida. Welcome to another live edition of the Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate and America's longest running daily radio show all about the topic of real estate. My name is Eric Willner, and I am your host. I am here live Monday through Friday. That's 5 days a week at 5 p.m. We're also at 8 p.m. Eastern time, all those times. So that's 5 at 5, 5 at 8. That's 10 shows plus our workshops. So we've got some great information here on our Wednesday edition of the Real Estate Show. The Wednesday edition is going to bring you a number of great topics. As you know, our Wednesdays are midweek report where we like to talk about the market, what's going on in the market, perhaps some of the things that we believe that the news is leading us to see in the marketplace. Everything from, as you've seen, the first in about 10 days break in rises in the stock market. That's amid a breakdown in the stimulus package conversation, as well as the surge in the virus numbers, both in deaths and in positive cases. So some bad news to interrupt a really good track that was going on. We hope that we can get back on track, but there's obviously a lot of uncertainty in the marketplace, and that is what the marketplace does not like. So I'm just going to make a couple of quick adjustments here. I'm getting some feedback. Everything that I say, I'm hearing it twice. So thanks. That just killed that. So that's good. That is now rectified. And then let me go ahead and jump back into the live video feed, as I probably forgot to mention that we're also live on Facebook. The Real Estate Show has a page, a live page on Facebook. You can just go there, whether you have a Facebook page or not, at facebook.com/The Real Estate Show. You can watch the show as well as listen to the show. And you can also catch us on some free apps that are available on your smart device, your tablets or your phones. So you can listen to us on the iHeartRadio app. Just search for 1470 WWNN. You can search it on the TuneIn app and also the Spreaker app. And those are just a few of the ones that I'm aware of and use. Now, the nice thing about all of the shows, by the way, if you miss any of them, they're also up on our website at automaticlandlord.com, where you can also listen to this show live, where you can also listen to any of the shows that you might have missed, or if you want a double dose of your vitamin real estate, go ahead. You can binge watch or listen to this show as well. So a couple of things. As I started out talking about, the stocks dropped amid the virus surge. The renters, now this is an interesting little article, and you can see how this really ties into the real estate. You know, we've been talking about the foreclosure and the eviction moratorium. And this is something we're watching very closely, because while everything else in the market seems to point upwards, there's this impending cloud on the horizon, and the numbers are not small. That is just a function of, number one, what are we going to do with the evictions? Now, I'm going to come to this a little bit later in the broadcast. I saw some rumblings of an eviction ban. Can you think about that? That means that they're telling you that lease contracts don't matter anymore. And maybe that should be the next hashtag, is leases matter. Because if it comes to pass that leases don't matter, or contracts don't matter for that point, I'm going to tell you that this is a two-edged sword that could both help in the short run, but hurt even more in the long run. And here's what I mean. One of the things that this country has been built on is on the concept of contracts, a document that legally binds and forces two people to perform once an agreement has been reached. For example, a tenant says, I want to rent your house. You say, I want to rent my house for $900 or $1,000. The tenant says, okay, I'm willing to pay $1,000 to rent your house. We sign a lease that says that they get possession from this period to that period for 1 year, starting on the first of the month. And on the first of the month, I expect you to pay me $1,000 this and every month thereafter for the next 12 months. At the end of the 12 months, you'll either leave or we'll agree to a new term of a lease. So what happens if halfway through the lease, one of the parties decides to change their mind? Now, that would cause absolute chaos and there would be no stability anywhere. However, thanks to the contract, the tenant knows he's protected and the owner knows he's protected. The minute that you invalidate that glue, that bond, that covenant, that promise, that written agreement, then in the future, the landlord is going to say, you know what, I'm not going to make a deal with you because I don't trust you. And in fact, I'm not going to take a risk leasing it to you for only $1,000. I'm going to need $1,500 in case halfway through you decide not to pay for any reason. Or maybe landlords will say, bump that. I'm not going to get into real estate at all. I'm going to decide to invest my money somewhere else, maybe in gold bullion, because at least once I have the bullion in my possession, over my dead body, will anybody come take it? And so there you have the destruction of the concept of a contract. And that's why a lot of these progressive new politicians, most of who don't own a piece of property of their own, most of those new progressives don't believe in the concept of a fair dollar for a fair day's work. And as a result of that, they're looking at redistributing the wealth. And the very people that create the wealth will become disincentivized to do that. And that begins a slippery slope and a completely different environment than what we have. So back to the story of renters are moving back with their parents at an eye-opening rate during the pandemic. Now, an interesting conversation that we haven't heard in a while, because as the millennials, who were widely criticized for a long period of time for not getting off their parents' sofa, not getting jobs, staying home, playing video games, when they finally shook that stereotype, and I'm going to tell you, it's not a fair stereotype, but it is the one that was. And here we go, renters are moving back in with their parents at an eye-opening rate during the pandemic. Why? Not enough jobs and not able to pay the rent at where they're at. Once again, leaving landlords stuck. One other thing before we go into the break, I know I want to talk about a different subject here on today's midweek report, but what will happen if the landlords can't collect on their rents? They're not going to be able, in many cases, because most landlords are not big conglomerates. Most landlords, the vast majority of landlords, are folks like you and I that have one or two properties. Maybe they have more than one or two properties, but the majority have less than a handful of properties that they rent out. So any little thing can easily upset the apple cart and throw them into arrears. And then one last thing that you've heard me talk about, and that is that when a landlord, a real estate investor, buys a property, signs a mortgage, signs a note, he gives the property as collateral for that debt. So even if the lender has to wait longer to get paid, they will get paid because they've got that note that says that they will pay. And if not, they get the collateral in lieu of the payment. Now, on the tenant, what collateral does the landlord have to protect himself the same way? And the answer, you might say, well, they got a security deposit. Well, that's often 1 month, and maybe if there's last month's rent, so maybe if they're lucky, they have 2 months rent. So the minute that the tenant is 30 days late, and then they use up their last month's rent, and then that because they're 60 days late, and then they use up their security deposit, which is not rent. Now they're 3 months behind, and the landlord hasn't received payments for 3 months. Once it hits the fourth month, it is cheaper for the tenant to simply wave goodbye, move to a new property, and start the process all over, because it's cheaper to pay first, last, and security than it is to pay 4 months of back rent or 5 months of back rent. And in my history, 30 years in the real estate business, I have very rarely, almost never, seen a tenant more than 4 months behind ever make up the payments. They simply move on. They'll damage their credit. They'll walk away. You can sue them to your heart's content, and they'll never buy a house because that's why they're terminal tenants. But on the other hand, who's really damaged? It's not the bank. It's the landlord in between. And that's why I always say, be fair but firm. Don't let the tenant get behind 3 months, because otherwise you might as well start saving up for the eviction and saving up for the repairs, and watch that property have no income for the year. In fact, generally a pretty significant loss. And that's because most people aren't willing to be firm but fair in their property management. And that's why I recommend that if you are not that person, that you hire a manager. And we're going to talk more about that in a company that we're going to talk about, Evergreen Management, that can help you exactly with that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about all the workshops that we have scheduled for this week and for next week. I got a lot more information, news here for it to share with you here on the Real Estate Show. So don't touch that dial. You're listening to the Real Estate Show. My name is Eric Willner, and I will be right back. So for those of you on our video broadcasts, we're doing our 8 o'clock live because our 5 o'clock, unfortunately, was a crash and burn technologically. We had all sorts of problems connecting with the studio. So we are back at this point now doing another live 8 o'clock session, and hopefully that'll give us a full recording for our Facebook listeners and followers, and also on our YouTube channel. So appreciate you guys coming back. If it's here for a second dose, obviously you see that it's a little bit different. We weren't even able to start our 5 o'clock show until almost 5:15. So here we have a full one. Knock on wood that that everything goes cool for the rest of the show here. So we're getting ready to come back. And welcome back. For those of you who might just be joining us, you are listening to The Real Estate Show, South Florida's #1 program about real estate, America's longest running daily radio show about real estate. And what we have here is not only a show, but really a daily dose, sort of a mini seminar in a radio program every day, a daily dose, as I like to say, of vitamin real estate. Now, if 5 days a week wasn't enough, especially, you know, we got our Live at 5 show, and now we have our 8 p.m. show as well. So that's 2 radio shows a day. And then on top of that, because of some of the things that we're very involved in doing, we are doing a number of workshops during the week, most notably. And then, as I mentioned, if you have been a regular listener, you know that we have been professing to punch the last month of the year. This is round 12 of a 12-month year, and the final round. And if you're at all unsure whether this was a successful, win for you for 2020, then this is one last shot at bringing up the score and hopefully ending on a high note. I'll also tell you, you can't do that without starting off with some great momentum for 2021, the year of the hand. And this is going to be a great year in 2021, regardless of who finally raises their right hand and takes the oath of office on January 21st, regardless of who is allowed to evict or who is not allowed to be evicted on January 31st. And on February 1st, whether there is a new wave of foreclosures or there is a phased out program, or whether the uncertainty gets kicked down the road, I'm going to tell you that we're going to take 2021 by storm, and we're going to document that. We're going to share a lot of that with you. I will tell you, listen to the shows last week. If you missed last week's shows with our challenge, here we are. We're 2 days away from starting our 21-day challenge. If you wanted to be a member and participate in the challenge, then all you have to do is go to our website, automaticlandlord.com. That's automaticlandlord.com, and type in the word challenge or 21 day. I'll know, but you got to give us your email or how to contact you so that we can give you. This is very, very valuable material that we share only with our clients and those subscribers. So this is an opportunity for free for our real estate listeners to take advantage of the benefits of the 21-day challenge. Other benefits you can take care of. Now, here's time that if you don't have a pencil and a paper, break out that crayon, break out that piece of paper, and write down this number or punch it straight into your phone. The number to remember is 561-861-2366. That's 561-861-2366. And you're going to want to remember these words, and you might want to jot these down or type these into the notes in your phone. But the word landlord, if you're interested in learning about some of the management techniques we were just talking about, type in the word landlord to 561-861-2366. If you want to attend our credit accelerator, I've been harping, I've been pushing, I've been promoting, I've been trying to emphasize, because I can't emphasize enough, the number one single digit, the single number that matters the most in your financial life is your credit score. With a great credit score, all sorts of doors open up for you. Without a good credit score, many doors are closed and many of your options are reduced. And I'm going to show you and put my 21 years of experience in the mortgage business to work for you, helping you to boost your credit. If you have no credit, I'm going to show you how to create it like this. I'm going to show you how to turn your rent payments into credit. How about that? I'm going to show you how you can take your credit score, whether it's in the 400s. Remember, you get 300 just for filling out your name. If you have 400 credit scores, we just took somebody from the 400s to the 700s. That's a 300 and some point improvement. And we can do that for you too. If you are coachable, if you are cooperative, then cooperate and type in the word credit to 561-861-2366. Now that's on Tuesday nights is our credit accelerator workshop. So coming up next Tuesday, 7 p.m. If you want that, credit to 561-861-2366. If you're interested in the equity accelerator, how do I build equity if I don't have extra money? I own real estate, but I want to build equity faster. And we've been talking about some of the secret algorithms that these are the ways that we can combat and actually optimize the bank's own algorithms using and how to flow your money through the right channels and time your payments. You can literally speed up the payoff of your mortgage without any additional money. And if you want to attend our next workshop on the equity accelerator, then the word is, you guessed it, equity. Type it in at 561-861-2366. Now, these workshops are space limited. We want to make sure that we're teaching the right people. And we are, by the way, also expanding our team, and we're teaching people to teach this, so that this our mission this next year. Number one, remember this, because remember I talked about goals. I'm going to be sharing some of my goals. One of my goals is to make 100 first-time home buyers, regardless of your credit today, regardless of your income today. We're going to make 100 first-time home buyers homeowners in 2021. Watch how we do that by listening to this show every day. Now, I talked about the word equity. I talked about the word credit. And finally, what I want to do is, coming up on Thursday, tomorrow, we have our entrepreneur and real estate investor mastermind. We call it the Big Table. And if you want to receive an invitation only link to the Big Table, then type in the word Big Table to 561-861-2366. So the number is always the same. That's our own exclusive number, 561-861-2366. But what you want, we have, whether it's building up your equity, building up your credit, or building up your business knowledge, these are extra workshops outside and a part of our radio show that we hope every listener takes advantage of those free resources. Now, remember, all the information about all of this stuff is being posted up on our website at automaticlandlord.com. All of your information, including the ability to listen to this show live and to listen to the rebroadcast, all at that one central source, automaticlandlord.com. So I want to jump in before we go anywhere else, just a couple of a headline, just to give you a feel for where we're at in the marketplace. And yes, I spent a bit of time talking about renters are moving back in with their parents at an eye-opening rate. In fact, nearly 50% more renters are moving back in with their parents, with millennials moving back home the most, up to 75% up from this time last year. Now, interesting conversation, and this tells me that the economy will not be so strong this coming year, 2021, because one of the articles is, get ready for the great U.S. inflation mirage of 2021. I'm going to save that article for later this week. Now, the next thing is talking about how the foreclosure wave could impact the housing shortage. Right now, believe it or not, in the pandemic, we have a housing shortage. We have more demand than we have properties for sale. And the foreclosure moratorium and the forbearance programs eventually will come to an end. There's no question, because it's impossible not to have people pay rent or not to have people pay their mortgages, which could result in a foreclosure surge. I believe it will happen. I just don't believe it's going to be as big or as bad as many people are playing it up to be. But that means that there is a narrow window of opportunity for cash-rich investors and people who are ready to take action. And that's why we put the 21-day challenge. If you're interested, once again, type in 21-day challenge. Just send me a message with your email address at automaticlandlord.com. One more headline that you ought to plug in the back of your head a little bit as all this uncertainty is floating around. After a steady increase, home buying confidence shifts. Fannie Mae's purchase price sentiment index this month reported 1.7 decline. That sentiment, that precedes, it's the forebearer of what the market will do, is the buyer confidence, and that has now shown its first drop. So the cracks are in the dam, and there's not enough fingers to go in there once the dam begins to leak. So stay tuned for the Real Estate Show. Bring it back right here. Listen to our show Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. and at 8 p.m. Right here where you're listening to us. So until then, this is Eric Willner signing off. Until tomorrow, drive safe, keep washing those hands, and make it a great day. And that one we pulled off without a hitch. Thank you, Daniel. Yes, you can dump the 5 o'clock one.